Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's Digital Making at Home live stream. I'm Christina, and I'm coming to you live from Nebraska.
And I'm Mr. C, and I'm in Cambridge in the United Kingdom.
Awesome. Mr. C and I are from the Raspberry Pi Foundation. We are so happy to have you here with us today. Please say hi in the chat and let us know where in the world you are joining us from. This week is about tech to protect the planet. We have a guest and a coding project. I'm curious, Mark, have you done any projects with technology to think about helping the planet?
Oh, I've done one or two, yeah. So, I've been at the foundation for quite a long time now, and so they tend to ask me to make all the weird and wonderful toys and stuff from time to time. So one of the projects that I've worked on recently was with part of AstroPi in space. We're doing a bit of research to see if we can help the astronauts learn how to grow plants in space and have young people do the same. So I've actually got the grow lights in here.
Oh, cool. Oh, wow. That's really neat.
Yeah. So it's a complete mock-up of what a grow box would look like on a Mars rover or something similar. The idea being then that can you grow plants in it sustainably and have it manage itself? So we use the Raspberry Pi to monitor inside the box. And then all that technology would add water, it would maintain the light and sort of do all those sort of things and send data to a dashboard where you could monitor it in real time from across the planet effectively. So that was a really cool project. We'd done a few other things. We had a couple of kids from Coolest Projects, I think last year, who made a submarine for the canals around their house in Birmingham, and it was made out of a Tupperware lunchbox to make it waterproof. And they had a little motor on it and a camera inside it that could film inside the canal. So they were looking at sort of water pollution and things like that in the canals around their house. That was a cool project.
I love that. I love it. I know we have community members who will use the Raspberry Pi to set up systems to water their plants. And if you're those of you watching us at home, let us know what projects you have done, especially around technology to support the planet, to spy on critters in your backyard. Definitely put those in the chat. And I'm seeing hello from Canada to Larry on YouTube, GoBall on Facebook saying hi. Hi, GoBall. Thanks for joining. Clemens on Facebook. Hello and welcome. We're so excited to see you all.
So many people.
Yeah, definitely.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And also I noticed, Mark, we're wearing matching shirts. This was not on purpose. So
yeah. Twinsies. So we got these given to us by the foundation this week, didn't we? We got presents, so we thought we'd wear our presents with pride. We're broadcasting to a bunch of channels too right now, Christina. We're on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and we can see everybody's comments. So do type them in. If you're watching on our website, if you just head on over to YouTube, you can join in the chat, have a conversation with all of us, throw questions up, all those sorts of things as we move along. You need to make cool stuff, right? Make cool stuff. And so join in, everybody. We're online with you. So this is a conversation for all of us to have together. Who are we having a conversation with today, speaking of that?
Yeah, so today we're actually talking with Jessica Green, software engineer at Ecosia. So what is interesting about Ecosia is that it's a search engine that donates 80% or more of its profits to nonprofit organizations that focus on reforestation. And I've been using it actually since I met Jessica a few weeks ago. And currently my tracker says 491 searches. So we're going to talk about how that is actually translated into trees getting planted. And we actually have a short video about Ecosia. So we're going to check that out right now.
I'm here in Brazil, in the Mata Atlântica, one of the most gorgeous forests on the planet. In 2012, Ecosia started to support this project. The Mata Atlântica is a forest with an incredible amount of different species. And your searches made it possible for us to finance the recovering and the increase of the biodiversity of this site. So using Ecosia is really making it possible to do this. I know how difficult it sometimes is to understand. I know how far away these biodiversity hotspots are. But I'm telling you, I'm sitting between your trees here.
Oh,
No
I
way.
love that. That is really,
Amazing.
really cool. And I'm really excited to bring Jessica on. So Jessica, I think Jessica's in the back. Hi, hello,
Hey, hi
welcome.
Christina. Hi, Mr. C. Hi, everyone.
Hey.
Great to be here.
Oh,
Thanks for coming on.
welcome. So glad to have you here. That was super neat to see. And I'd love for us to tell you a little bit, introduce yourself to the folks. What's your role? How long have you been at Ecosia?
Yeah, sorry. Thanks already for the great introduction, Christina. I'm a software engineer. I focus on the back end of the Ecosia website. I've been there 2 years, and actually I'm a career changer. So my studies and earlier in my life, I did something completely different. And I recently got into technology.
Oh, wow. Well, can you just what was that like? There's something completely different. That sounds really mysterious. I want to know.
So actually, when I was in school, technology was something that always interested me, but the route I went into was media production, and I worked in the film industry in the UK for about 6 years, working on films like Hugo by Martin Scorsese. But I made this decision in the last couple of years that I wanted to transition into technology because I feel like it's a really important field. It opens a lot of doors and it gives us a lot of opportunity to do good in the world.
Yes. Wow. That's wow. We need a coffee date because I want to learn a little bit more about that, but I know we have limited time. And so you talked about doing good in the world. I know that's a big part of Ecosia's mission. And so I'm wondering, I've been using the search engine. I now have 491 searches. How is that becoming trees planted?
So with a search engine, when you make searches, we are able to use the advertising that you're also served, and this generates revenue for us. And once we paid all of our bills, so taxes and staff and offices, we can then use the rest of the money to go towards our tree fund, which, as you mentioned in the introduction, works with our tree planting partners to be able to plant trees. So in general, you need to make about 45 searches to plant a tree. Of course, this changes throughout the year because planting trees cost a different amount at different times of the season, and also different amount in different countries.
Okay. Wow. That's so someone at home, feel free to do the math. 481 divided by 45, right? How many trees have I planted? Which is, that's really incredible. When you think about it. And I also know while you're planting trees, you're also thinking about helping folks in general just to make sustainable choices. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so I wanted to say, if anyone at home is using Ecosia and they're not already aware of how they can see how many searches they've already made, like you have, Christina, it's in the top right of the website. And there's a little tree icon, and next to it, you'll see a number. And this is the number of searches that you've made. You can also sync this across your devices so that you can, maybe search on your phone or on a tablet device and also on your PC.
Yeah.
One of the things that we also would really like to do more of, and what we're starting to do, is to, as you mentioned, be able to provide more sustainable choices for people online. So a lot of the online activity, it doesn't seem like something that we can directly have a real world effect with. But actually, as I've just told you with Ecosia, that's not true. You can have an impact on the world around you and also in other places. So we are doing things like showing a little green leaf icon when you make a search for certain products that are a sustainable company. So in this case, Patagonia for outdoor clothing. And we also have a little coal cinder that shows if the company is actually supporting the coal industry, which is, of course, something that we don't want to promote.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think, like you said, make an impact. And I know for me, at home, and I imagine the young people who are watching, sometimes it feels like it's really hard to make an impact. And we actually don't even realize the actions that we're taking every day, what impact those make. So actually just shifting to using a different search engine. I know when I was in middle school, high school, I used Ask Jeeves a lot. And even now as an adult, I think we connected a couple weeks ago, and I've already done 491 searches. And that's it feels really cool. It feels really powerful to actually be able to give back. And actually, I have a question from Suraj on Facebook. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, Suraj. Does Ecosia actually also take care of the planted trees?
Great question. Thanks, Saraj. So we have to also make sure that the trees stay in the ground and are able to survive and be healthy and grow to maturity, because otherwise their effect would be pretty limited. So it's not just about putting seeds in the ground. It's also about making sure that those trees are protected for their entire life. So really working together with local communities to ensure that this is sustainable for them as well. So for example, we in some places have what we call forest gardens, which plant trees, but also provide a space for the local community to be able to produce food, which means that they're less likely to then cut down the trees.
Oh, wow. And I think we actually have some images of those from our team in the back. Thank you, Matt. Oh, can you tell us a little bit more about these images, Jessica?
Yeah, this is in Brazil. This actually shows you just the difference that a year and a half can make in terms of reforestation, and that it's not only about trees, it's everything around them as well, the entire ecosystem. It helps keep water into the ground. It is really great for local wildlife. So in other countries such as Uganda, we've also created tree corridors, which means that animals like orangutans and other species can travel from one patch of forest to another without coming to harm or having these dangerous interactions that they can do otherwise with the human communities that live there.
Oh, wow. That's really neat to see. Oh, wow. Tell us about this one.
This is the one actually from the video at the start where my colleague Peter was talking about the project that we've worked in Brazil also. And this, of course, is over a much larger period of time, and it's showing you really just how different things can be in this case, 5 years. Yeah. Of course, trees take a while to grow, so it's not instantaneous. Right. It's like we're in it for the long run. And as I mentioned before, to the great question we had, it's also really about keeping the trees in the ground and saving existing forest.
Definitely. Oh, yeah. So tell us more, like, how did you end up here and working, like, how did you go from Leeds to working in Berlin? Like, what has been your story and how did you choose Ecosia, besides them obviously having a really amazing mission?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, the mission was a big part of it. It really aligns with my values around sustainability and protecting the environment, and then also giving voices and platform to the communities that are doing a lot of this work. Because most of the tree planting projects we work with are not based here in Europe. They're based predominantly in the global south. So I think it's really important to engage with the people that are doing this work. For me, my journey has been not quite traditional. As I mentioned earlier in the intro, I was always interested in tech, but I didn't feel particularly encouraged to get into the field as a young person, as a child. My mum was like a real advocate for us to having a computer in the house, which I'm sure sounds a little strange maybe to some people growing up at this age, because now I think computers are pretty commonplace and everyone's quite tech native, but that was actually something quite new then. And retraining as an adult has also been really interesting challenge and journey. And that's really down to having a great community. So if you're not at school and you want to retrain into something that you didn't study, it's possible. I've done it actually twice. But having a community around you, such as this great community with the Raspberry Pi Institute, really, really helps.
Yeah. Oh, I think that's such an important thing and such an important reminder, especially now at this time of like just taking the time to reevaluate and explore, like, what are my passions? What am I interested in? And you mentioned like there are tools and resources. And I know you're part of a community like organization called PiLadies. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, PiLadies is a community that I came across when I decided to switch into tech, and they focus on supporting gender minorities and underrepresented folks in the tech industry or getting into the tech industry. So creating a network, we run regular workshops where we try to share knowledge and do different projects. We actually had a great workshop with the Raspberry Pi where a colleague came out of it creating something similar to what Mr. C mentioned, like a whole like watering system for their house plants. So it's so enjoyable and rewarding to see all the projects that people build.
Yeah. And how important has that community been for you and with your career shift?
Yeah, it's been vital. I think having other people to kind of bounce ideas off and talk to, and also be able to learn from has been just so helpful. And I try to give back a lot to the community and, support other people coming up within the industry.
Yeah, I think that piece there, just having community ask questions and bounce ideas. Like Mr. C and I were just talking about an idea for a project that I want to make, and I know that he's willing to help me do it. And even for me, like being relatively pretty new to coding when I started here, and having this team at the Raspberry Pi Foundation be so supportive. There's definitely been times where I'm like, oh, I sat for way too long and tried to Google something and figured it out. And one of my amazing colleagues, Mark Scott, has said, take 10 minutes. If you can't figure it out in 10 minutes, ask your team. And that was an important reminder to me, and an important part of like, there are communities out there, and we are a community. So those of you joining us today on the Raspberry Pi community, like we're here to help. We have so many resources. So ask questions, let us know. So why don't we do some coding? I know Mr. C has a project that he's been excited to share with us. It's actually a tree project.
Yeah, it's the tree life simulator. So it's part of the Protect Our Planet stream, the pathway, if you wanted to get onto it. So if you load up the pathway at rpf.io/planet, you'll see this is probably, I think it's the third project along in the pathway. So it's a little bit more advanced than some of the others. So when we code this one today, me and Jessica, I'm going to talk you through what I'm doing. But mostly we're having a conversation about Ecosia. So if this goes a bit too quick for you today, that's fine. Remember, you can pause the video and things, but it might throw you out of sync with the chat, or you can always come back to the video and watch the code later and catch the bits that you missed. All right, so don't stress about it. Don't feel you need to keep up or anything like that. Me and Jess are just going to pound through it, and when we get to the end, hopefully we'll have something finished and you can join in with that on whenever you get a chance. So if you go to rpf.io/trees, you should see the starter project, which is what my screen is now. So you'll get this new Scratch project. Have you ever used Scratch before, Jess?
Actually, I hadn't before this, but love it. I think it's such a great platform.
Oh, yay. Welcome. You're like one of our favorite people. If like you're new to Scratch or new to a tool, I'm always really excited. So yay.
Cool. So the project that we're going to be building is kind of like, it's what's called a tree life simulator. So the idea is that it sort of shows the impact of land management and deforestation on trees and wildlife. And so we built it with Ecosia. So they sort of helped us and supervised us to explain how all those things work so we could help build a project about it. And it was done as part of like the UN Sustainable Development Goals and everything. Like it's actually a really, really cool project. I'm quite pleased to be able to pull it out. And so if you load up your starter project, we should all have one at home now. Just make sure you've got your trees sprite selected like I have. Okay, so you see I've got my trees selected because that's where we're going to start doing the code. So to start with, the first thing we want it to do is to be able to make loads of trees, right? So we're going to take our tree sprite and we're going to make it replicate itself a bunch of times really quickly. And so to do that, we're going to start everything off with our green flag like we do. So Jess, I had someone ask a question earlier saying, do you choose what kind of trees that go into the plots, or are they sort of like, what's the decision process about those then?
Yeah, great question. So we have some element of choice, but we need to go with what would be native to where it's being planted. So it's not per se like we can choose any tree to plant. We need to look at what would survive in the environment that it's being planted. And for example, we need to make sure it's not an invasive species, because that could be damaging for the rest of the environment.
Yeah, right.
That's so important. And I'm so glad that question was asked, because I think folks don't realize just the homework that really goes into development work and the community conversations and the research that it's needed. It's not just about popping in, dumping a tree and leaving. It's the maintenance, it's the support, it's the community conversation. So thank you. I think I'm gonna look who asked that question.
If I wasn't a developer at Ecosia, I would probably really love to work at Ecosia in our tree team, which is the team that does all the coordinating between the different tree planting projects and ourselves as an organization. And I think they have such interesting work looking into just these kind of things that you're mentioning, Christina, because it is really important to work with the local communities there, as I mentioned before, to make sure it's sustainable for them, but also to make sure that you're planting trees that will be beneficial. You can't also just plant one type of tree, which I think is something that we're going to come across in the project. But it's really important to have a variety of trees planted.
Yes, yeah, definitely. And shout out to GoBall on Facebook for asking that question. I'm seeing also hello from Giovanni on Facebook in Mexico. And we got a props from Larry on YouTube. I think it was a props to you, Jessica, for the work that you're doing. So thanks so much for joining us, Larry.
That's cool. It's great having these comments come in, people like providing this awesome sort of perspective on the different things around the world from them as well. Like, that's the thing I love most about it. So, I mean, the code that I've got here, Christine, if you can see it on my screen, basically what I've got it to do now is, so when my tree, it's going to go to a bunch of random places forever and make copies of itself like a stamp. It's just going to go bam, 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 bam.
Yeah, we've used the stamp before, right? Definitely.
We totally have. We've used it as a clone. And so it's going to go between this range here. I've set a range for it in my sideways and up and down, so it doesn't just go all over my screen. I want to try and keep them into like a nice thicket. And then the next part is about when it starts as a clone, it will appear, it will choose one of the costumes. You can see here that the trees have got. So all these 3 different costumes that it could pick between, just to make it a bit of variety in the project. It will be tiny and it will look like it's growing. So it will grow in size as it appears. And then once it's done that, we should be able to now, if I click the green flag.
Wow. I also love those sprites. They're so cute. Oh, this is great, right? Guys. This is,
so cool.
This gives me hope.
Can we just keep it like it is now?
Yes.
Or just have all these trees?
That would be amazing, right? We could, but that's the thing. So this is like a tree life simulation. So we have to unfortunately simulate the situation that we have in real life, which is, lots of these trees are unfortunately not going to make it to maturity, or, all sorts of problems could befall them. And so that's part of the code, unfortunately. And I think that's the next part we're going to do is we'll look at the trees. We'll work out how many trees we've got, I think, as the next part of it. And then after that, I think we can look at deforestation. If we get that far, hopefully we won't get that far and we'll run out of time and we can just have our beautiful forests forever.
Yeah, I'm seeing a amazing video series from Javier on Facebook. Thank you, Javier. And Yolanda on YouTube is mentioning that this activity would be great for Earth Day. So it makes her think of 6th grade Earth Science courses here in Georgia in the United States. And I definitely agree, Yolanda. I used to teach and taught middle school science, so taught like 5th through 8th grade. And we definitely had Earth Science like standards and concepts that we had to help students. So this is a really great project if you're a parent, science teacher, and you're trying to think about how to bring in coding into the classroom and with your students. This is a really neat project.
Yeah. So I've just added a slider. Sorry, go on, Jess.
No, I was just going to say, I really like how you're going to add the counter in, because I think that really relates to Ecosia's website, where we have a global counter, which is the large number on the website that tells you all the trees planted by all Ecosia users. And we're now over 100 million. We hit 100 million trees in July. Which, just to give a little bit of context, if you are familiar with central London, it's like 12 times the area of central London. So a lot of trees.
That's a huge
wow. Oh man, I look at the tracker sometimes. I've like actually had it up and just like seen it and been like, I'm helping that. And it feels good. And I can't emphasize to folks enough, just really thinking your choices each day, from your purchasing choices to using a search engine. We can make an impact. And it's so neat to see that the work Ecosia is doing to help us all feel like we're part of something bigger.
Yeah. No, it's awesome, right? Because we are a global community. At the end of the day, deforestation is everybody's problem.
Yeah.
Like, if we don't get hold of it now, we're seeing it with global warming and all sorts of things like this. And if we can't all work together to sort of at least make this one work, we might be in a bit of trouble, right? I think.
Yeah.
So a lot of the places where we're planting trees are biodiversity hotspots. And that's part of the reason why we're planting trees there, because that will have the most impact for us as a global community. Because these are places where they're not particularly large, but they have the most different species of plants and animals living. And that's why we need to maintain these spaces. So we do have some projects that are in Europe, and we've also worked with a couple of different people doing like regenerative agriculture. So we all have a part to play, but yeah, that's why we specifically have these different locations around the equator that really, really need that attention.
Oh, definitely. How big is your team at Ecosia?
We're growing. We're around 70 people now. But that's just the people who work at Ecosia, like in Berlin, say, or like in Europe. If you would count all the people that like work with Ecosia in the planting projects, we're many, many more. And also, you know, it's all about the users as well. And as you saw in the video, we have now just a huge amount of users that are taking part in, you know, contributing.
Yeah. Oh, that's super neat. Also, I'm seeing Javier on Facebook is saying he loves this project. I'm going to for sure do it with my pupils. That's so great to hear, Javier. That's why we are here, to help you find resources and projects to do with your students. So thanks for the shout out.
Okay. So where I'm at now, Christina, you can see here in my code, I've got this tree management thing, because the tree management is meant to sort of replicate the idea that you can't just throw seeds in the dirt, right, and hope they'll grow. You need to look after them, grow a forest. You need to maintain the soil. You need to keep the pests away, keep all the loggers and things away from it as well. And so this tree management thing here, you see, if I'm doing it 5 out of 5, I'm working hard in maintaining this forest. My forest grows about this quickly, much slower than we were seeing before, right? And so if I slow that down and I don't manage my forest very well, you can see my growth is now slowed way down. Okay, so again, talking what Jess was saying about biodiversity and stuff is vital in growing a really healthy forest. And that's what that slider is meant to represent. And now the next thing to do is I've got mature trees. So you can see here it's counting how many trees have made it all the way to the end of their growth cycle. Okay, so if I double click that, and then it changes my account. Okay, so I've got, there we go. So you can see them growing up to their full maturity, which is what we really need, right, Jessica? That's the important part, is to get mature trees.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, maintaining the forests that already exist is also a really important part of this. So, for example, where there's been a lot of forest fires going on in the Amazon, we're also trying to work with people there for firefighting to kind of, you know, mitigate some of the loss that's happening there.
Wow, yeah. And that tree management piece that you just mentioned, Mr. Steve, made me think of this past summer. I got real into gardening. I had, what did I have? I had watermelon, pumpkins, but RIP, the pumpkins didn't make it because of that management piece. We had pests. Like, we were able to get our sunflowers. We had corn, shout out to Nebraska. But that was something I learned just in that small lot of my backyard. And so thinking about the commitment that it takes on such a, like you said, 12 times the size of London, like just what that work and effort that goes into that, and how quickly, unfortunately, we might see it on the project, it can be torn down through deforestation. Yeah. What are you adding now?
Actually, go
ahead, Jessica. Yeah, go ahead.
One of the amazing projects that I've seen is where they're like actually reclaiming desert land. So they're taking areas that are now completely, you would look at them and think they're completely desert, but actually being able to like grow trees there. This is, you know, you really have to pick which trees you're going to try and plant in this kind of environment. But having people with the knowledge for the land management, for the tree management, it's possible. And that's what we've seen is whole areas that you would otherwise think were just desert return to green, lush lands.
Mm-hmm. And talking about that, like I imagine there's just so many roles and positions to create and make a project like this work. And when we have like young folks watching this, like thinking like, do you love plants? Do you love computers? Do you want to use tech to protect our planet? And that's what this week of this, like the theme of this week is, but there's so many ways you can do that, right? Like from the community partnerships to the work that you do on the back end of the website. It's really neat to hear how such an incredible team has come together for this.
And young people are driving this. So there's a lot of campaigns going on in universities and schools to make Ecosia their default search engine and to actually like collect all the searches together and plant trees as a group of people. And that is just so awesome to see. Like, I think a lot of our users are actually young and they're really driving the change that we see.
That's really, suggestion, let your team know, this is my idea. There is a way to like track not just individuals, but to track a team, right? Like if you could do a university, you could do a country, you could do a school, like they could sign up and then have those posted. And I could see competitions like here in the USA, we have serious competitions between colleges, not just sports, but those end up being used for good. Sports are also good, but also used for fundraising, for community impact work. So that could be really neat.
That sounds like an awesome idea, Christina. I will take it back to the team.
You heard it here first, folks.
Nice. See, that's what we're all about, right? Making connections and having conversations and like furthering stuff. It's the whole point. I'm loving it. So I've just done the tree counter, right? So unfortunately, we got to the deforestation part of the project. And so I've done a bit of work on the little tree fella. So you can see here, I've got a little truck. That's my tree fella. And it's asking me how many trees do we need? Okay, so there's no escaping the fact that humans need resources, right? Wood is a natural resource that we require, but we need to manage it, obviously. And so you can only have a maximum of 20 of my trees, Christina. How many do you need?
Well, I'm trying to really work on recycling, on like buying. So I'm going to say 10.
10 trees. Okay, so I want 10 trees. So it says okay, and then it just goes through and it chops some of my trees. Oh, what's it doing?
Oh, do we got a bug?
We might do, yeah. I love it when those happen. I try and work out why it's bugged. Okay.
Definitely. If you see the bug, if you're watching this at home and if you see the bug or you're doing this project, let us know if you see it. That's always my favorite thing, if we can debug as a community together on the stream. But I saw the movement.
So I don't know. Maybe it's because I collected all the trees I needed. Because
really?
Okay. So I didn't have to move far because it's already chopped down a bunch of trees. There we go.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I don't like that look. It reminds me. Has anyone seen Fern Gully? It reminds me of Fern Gully. This movie oh gosh. Okay. Everyone search it. Search it on Ecosia. Check it out. Fern Gully was like a really cool animated. It actually had Robin Williams played a bat, and it was all about the rainforest, and literally had like that image of a truck coming in and cutting down trees. And yeah, I think not enough people watched Fern Gully growing up, but hopefully folks can check it out. Definitely, I think you'd like it, Jessica. Definitely check it out.
I'm gonna check it out. Yeah, I didn't know about it until now.
I'm sure it'll touch your heart. I know it will. Okay, I want to be mindful of time because I know. Thank you so much, Jessica, for joining. Oh, what's happening? Did you see? I see more trees growing.
Yeah. I fixed it.
Okay, cool.
I'm just going to drive around until it collects trees. Okay, so I don't want it to do that. I want it to go off this way.
What I'm loving too is in this project for folks at home, like Mr. C said at the beginning, this is definitely an advanced project. Lots of really like from variables to while true to repeating. So this is something that you would ease kids into, which is also why it's the project in that. Like this is something a kid's going to, like one of your students, they'll move into, but it's also a really great project, like Yolanda had mentioned, for Earth science, something to think about, maybe just put in your notes for Earth Day in April. And you can check out these pathways at rpf.io/planet. All right.
You have a lot of operators in there as well. And I have to say, as a programmer myself, they're always the one, if you get it the wrong way around, you're probably not going to have what you expect.
No, I got it sorted. So basically what was happening was because our forest had grown so thick before I tried to deforest it, it didn't need to go very far in order to clip that many trees. But now when I restart it, you'll see that the little guy here, so I want 20 trees. So he's just going to keep driving backwards and forwards until he can now prune up to 20 mature trees, and he's counting down now. But he can only take the mature ones, right? Because that's our management of the forest. So that's cool.
Wow. You did it!
Yay!
Some live coding. It's not easy, folks. I know he makes it look easy, but it's not always easy. So debugging
I'm
live.
glad Mr. C is doing it.
Yeah, right, exactly.
That's cool.
Awesome.
It's a very cute project.
Yes, nice work. Well, Jessica, thank you so much for joining us, sharing about Ecosia, and also just like doing some code with us. That, like we said, it's not always easy, so it's really fun to have someone join us and code along with us. And we're super excited for our community to learn more. And folks, check out ecosia.org, add it as your search engine, see how many, I'm at 491, so see if you can catch up.
So I'll race you.
Thanks
Awesome.
so much, both, and for everyone who joined, and for all of the Ecosia users out there for making it possible for us to be able to plant so many trees.
Awesome. Thanks, Jessica. Bye, Jessica.
Yeah, thanks, Jessica. So cool. So cool. Such a cool project. And so you installed it in your browser, right? I haven't installed it yet, so I'm going to install it when we get off here. But it's like, how was it a pain? Was it difficult? Like, do you have to go to a special website to do your search and stuff? Or
no, just go to ecosia.org, and then you can add it as your main search engine. And so it makes searches fun, right? that's like I'm not just searching anymore. I'm actually adding to the team.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's a cool idea. Like, because you're gonna you have to do so many anyway, right? Like, if you can just add that, yeah, that's super duper cool. I love that.
I know. I remember I did one search when I first talked to Jessica, and she's like, "You need 45 to plant a tree," and I was like, "Okay, game on."
Yeah. And it's great to see so many other people in the chat today, like Gopal, Javier, like everybody was on. Suraj, people popping questions in, giving us comments. It was really brilliant to see everybody.
Yolanda, thank you for joining.
Yeah, Yolanda, shout out to Yolanda. So great to see her in the chat. So that was cool. I mean, that's all we've got time for this week, Christina. But everyone at home, like, be in touch with us. Send us an email at dmah@raspberrypi.org. We love to hear from you. If you're a young digital maker interested in being on the stream, ping us. We'd love to hear from you. Like, we love hearing from our young people in the community. It's great to see what you're making, because you're the future and we want to see what's coming. And we've got another stream next week, same time, same place. Thanks, everyone, for being here at the Raspberry Pi Foundation's Digital Making at Home live stream. And I hope we'll see you next week. Until then, look after each other and be well. Christina, I'll see you later.
Catch you later.